Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another guest episode of season 3 of And So the Story Goes. This is our last episode on our topic of amazing opportunities abroad. Today, I'm talking to two U of R medical students, Heather and Sally, who did research in Zambia over the summer as a part of the Global Pathways program. Enjoy the episode. Heather and Sally, welcome to And So the Story Goes, and thank you for being here today. Can you tell us a bit about yourselves?
Yeah. So hi everyone. My name is Heather. I was born and raised in Japan. And then I actually went to undergrad here at UFR as well. I am a second year medical student.
Hi everyone, I'm Sally. I'm also a second year medical student. I'm from Australia and I moved to the US 4 years ago. And yeah, Heather and I were in medical school. We just started our infectious disease block.
Oh,
Yeah.
very exciting. So you guys went to Zambia this past summer, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. We were in Lusaka, which is the capital of Zambia, and we were there for 3 weeks over the summer.
That's amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about your research that you did there?
Yeah. So we basically went there and interviewed women who carry children with HIV. Most of the caregivers they also have HIV, and that's how they vertically pass down to their children. So we were curious about their health, um, like we just kind of want to interview their experiences as caregivers, both taking care of their children but also living with HIV. About like stigma, and how, medication, all of that. And then we interviewed a total of 30 women. So we did like a semi-formal interview with all of them. Most of them, we have to ask the coordinator to translate for us because the participants do not speak English.
Yeah. And then after that, we recorded all the interviews. We analyzed them when we got back to the US. And then we made an abstract, um, got a poster out of it, which we presented at the medical school this October. Yeah. So that was really interesting.
Amazing. Do you mind telling us maybe about what you learned while you were doing your research from the women that you interviewed or just in general, how it maybe helped you academically or professionally?
Yeah, I think we really learned a lot. I think the caregivers there obviously share a very different culture than we have. I think one of the things is that there's really like a very strong gender roles that like women are supposed to taking care of their children. They're really responsible for their children's health, versus men. I think just going out there and work. So obviously, if there's something happened to the men, I think women they're really expected to raise the children. If the husband unfortunately died, the women also normally really don't get married again. They're just keep taking care of the children. I think that's like really one thing we learned. And then the financial disparity, I think, really just also opened our eyes. I think when because we asked them a lot about, what are some support that you would like? Like, do you need like mental health support or like finance support? I think most of them said they just want money, and that's just really us realize that like mental health issues, they're more for, the privileged and for the rich, where you don't really even have money to, you don't even have money to buy food for your children. That's something that you would worry most versus like, other support.
Yeah. And I think the access to like education and healthcare was a little different than what we expected. Well, we didn't really know what to expect, but we learned like education is free over there up until like year 12. And then the medication for HIV, for example, is also free over there. So that made like access to care very way better than I thought. And also the clinic doesn't really like allow missed appointments, so everyone goes to their appointments in time, get the medications that they need. And so I think that was like a really good system.
Yeah, I think also the stigma is definitely we ask a lot about stigma, because we are interviewing, caregivers with HIV, and most of them report that they didn't tell the status of their children's HIV to like school or even their closest people. Most of them are churchgoers, they're Christians, and they didn't even tell people at the church. And when I asked them why they said that. It's because they're afraid of stigma. They have seen, children get picked up on. I think there was one mother who's actually opened up about their HIV status, and the kid got picked up on in school and stopped going to school. So I think that's something I feel like here in the States, especially like in New York, I don't feel like that's something people struggle as much as them. And then also self-stigma. I think HIV is really still a topic that are not really well talked about back in Zambia.
Yeah. I think overall, Heather and I agreed on this. The trip, like the project, I mean, technically, like, I feel like we didn't contribute anything to the people over there, but we learned a lot from them because these women, they took the time to come and talk to us and give us their experiences, and we learned a lot from them. So, yeah, it's like it was more beneficial for us in a way.
Yeah, it really definitely opened up like my perspective and like also build up my confidence on how to talk with people with different background. I think even back here in Rochester, there are a lot of people who have like a completely different life that I could never even imagine. And I know that like as medical students and future physicians, and even just as a person, living in a very diverse environment, we have to learn to how to talk with people who really share different upbringings than we do, and how we can really respect them and really just listen to their instead of forcing whatever idea we have upon them. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us today. Apart from the research and academic side of your trip, can you tell us maybe what you did in your free times? Did you go on any trips? And what about the food also?
Yeah, so we were there for 3 weeks, and the data collection part for the research was only a week. And then we spent the other 2 weeks kind of like getting over the jet lag and also experiencing like the food and local attractions. I didn't know what to expect in terms of the food because that was Heather's and my first time to Africa, but we ate so well. The food was really good. Their local food, it's called shima, and it's basically like a ground cornmeal, and you eat it with like stewed veggies or meat. And ever since Heather and I tasted it, we had it every single day.
We had it, yeah, every single day. Yeah, and I had this like fantasy that I talk with Sally that I want to eat because I love steak, that I want to eat steak every single day. And obviously that's, financially impossible here in the States. But I actually achieved that in Zambia the first week when we were there. Because there was one restaurant that serves Zambian food. They were like in renovation, so we didn't go until the last week, and that's when we ate it and we got hooked and we ate that at the end of the week. But then the first 2 weeks, because I really love steak and their steak is like amazing. And then yeah, we're eating it every single day.
Literally.
And yeah, that
Oh,
was amazing.
yeah. The conversion rate worked out really well for us.
Yeah, the food is very affordable.
Very affordable, very diverse too. Like we ate a lot of cuisines in Zambia.
Yeah, like Mexican, Korean,
Greek food.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we also like went to like Victoria Falls.
Oh yeah.
That was very, very pretty. We did like the helicopter ride, yeah, like safari ride. Um, we went to their mall. We really liked their mall with the different cafes there.
Yeah.
Um,
The Victoria Falls though, I need to give a special shout out to that because we booked this helicopter ride. It was like on the expensive side. So before that, I was like, I'm not sure. Is this worth it? But the moment the helicopter took off, I was like, this is the best thing that I've ever done.
very pretty,
The view was just like
very breathtaking.
breathtaking.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
pretty. Yeah. Because we could see everything of the waterfalls from above. And there was like rainbow and stuff. It was very beautiful. I'm so glad we did that. Yeah.
You mentioned shima, that's what it's called, right? The food there. Um, did you take any home with you?
No, we didn't. But funny enough, actually, we went to this village tour where they like showed us their village and also cooked the shiva with us. And they told us there was like a one German guy who went there like to volunteer, and then after that, like he goes there every year, and then every time when he's about to go back to Germany, he'll bring like a whole three pounds of shima, so that you can like bring it. And yeah, because I had to go to like 2 other countries after, so I was like, it doesn't really make sense for me to bring like a whole 3-5 pounds of shima, but
Yeah.
we really did wish
You
it.
did buy the spices
I
to
did buy
make
the
the
spices.
vegetables and the meat stews with.
Yes, because the meat is just it's so good. I was so hooked. I was like, there gotta be something in here that's like that's just so good. So that I actually asked the person who was cooking. I was like, "Oh, what do you put in there?" And she told us the spices. So literally the second after we went to the supermarket and I got like 10. And I've been putting it on everything. And then shima is also just very filling.
Yeah.
Like it like it doesn't really makes you drowsy. It just you ate it and then yeah, I just feel like very full, content for like the next 12 hours. And yeah, I think it's just like a magical pill. Yeah,
Food was very good.
very, very good.
So you mentioned earlier that as part of the Global Pathways program, you have to choose to go abroad or do research somewhere, either with refugees or immigrants or somewhere abroad. Did you guys choose to go to Zambia, or was it more of a just convenient place to go to?
It was more of the latter because, like we've mentioned, Heather's from Japan and I'm from Australia. So initially we wanted to go back to one of those countries, but things didn't really fall through with the research investigators that we found
Mm.
in those countries. And last year there was a student who went to Zambia, and so we got into contact with her, and then we got into contact with the PI here. He has a lab in Zambia. So like he's been sending students to Zambia every year. So it's like there's a system set up for that already.
Yeah.
So it was easier for us to work with him in terms of like logistics and everything. And he was very supportive in terms of like supporting whatever ideas that we want to do for our research. And yeah.
Have you either of you been to Africa before? Was that maybe a part of why you wanted to go there or like sort of helped with your decision? And were you happy that that is the place you ended up at?
Yeah, I feel like both me and Sally really bonded over like our passion for travel. I think yeah, I think Africa is probably the only two continent that I haven't been. And so like I feel like I always wanted to go to Africa anyway, just for traveling. And so yeah, we were really excited that Zambia is in Africa and that we're able to go. And yeah, I'm really glad about the decision. I think traveling, one thing is just to see something like you have never seen and like talk. And I think one of the biggest part I love to travel is to talk with the locals and to learn about their story and to eat the food. So I think we were able to do both in the trip. So yeah, I'm very content with the decision.
Yeah. It was a very fulfilling trip in terms of like food and experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a beautiful country with beautiful sceneries and beautiful people. And mm, yeah.
Yeah. And as med students, would you say that like talking to all these different people and experiencing a different culture, has it maybe set you up in a way to be better medical professionals, do you think, for the future?
Yeah, I think just really have this idea to like for like openness to learn because me and Sally we also went to like the neurology clinic to shadow and to like kind of look at like their clinical flow and how physicians interacting with their patients and it's very very different in the US. I think they're a lot more laid back. They really explain all the procedure a lot more clearly. They also don't really have I mean obviously given the development of Zambia, like they don't have like computers, they were just writing everything on the notes. And so yeah, we were just really impressed and about the differences that I feel like really humbled us and makes us just want to explore more with people who have different backgrounds.
Yeah. It was a very humbling and eye-opening experience for sure. Like talking to these women really taught me how to, it really enhanced my like listening skills, empathy, just yeah, to interact with people with a more open eyes, open ears kind of thing. And then like Heather said, we saw how like the healthcare system works over there, and I was really impressed with the amount of time each doctor spends with each
Mhm.
patient. It's significantly longer than what we see here in the US. So I thought that wow, this is something that I would love to see more.
Yeah. Do you think that some of the things you saw or noticed there, like, should be implemented more in the US?
I think certain things I saw over there I would love to see in the US. Like I mentioned, they don't like allow in quotation marks for patients to miss appointments. So if the patient can't come in for some reason, like they would really follow that through till the end and help the patient and the family come in for their appointment. Whereas it's a little different here in the US. We have like missed appointments, patients like discharging from the clinics because they didn't show up a lot of times. So yeah, that's
Also, that's like a medical access.
yeah.
Like all the healthcare is free, or very, very cheap. And I think, I mean, also like Zambia is overall not as wealthy as the US, but I feel like there's a big social disparity here in the US as well. There are people who cannot afford medical care. So I think lowering the medical costs will definitely open up a whole, group of patients who could not receive the adequate medical care to receive that. So that's definitely something. And everyone just generally like a lot nicer. I think not saying Americans are not nice, but I think in the hospital I didn't really feel any hostile energy. Everyone is very friendly. When they learn that we're from the US, they are like so happy to talk with us. Like the openness to like invite diverse background. I think it's also something I think we can definitely learn from.
Yeah. The hospitality was definitely something else. Everyone was so friendly and so kind to us. When we went to the market, for example, they were like, "Oh, my sisters," when we walked past. Yeah, so that was very nice of them.
That's lovely. And sort of just to wrap up our conversation here today, as med students, do you have any advice for other med students or other post-grad students who are thinking about going abroad or doing research abroad at all?
I would definitely encourage everyone who wants to go abroad to definitely go abroad. I think especially as a medical student or grad students, I think we're all so swamped by the schoolwork. We have like hardly time to breathe. And if there's any break, we feel like we just want to like lay down in our bed to rest. But I think these 6 years is really further motivate me on like why I want to become a doctor in the first place. And I think you will always gain more than you thought you would by going abroad and talking with different people. So I highly recommend that. And I think if there's someone like above your grade who might have done it, that might be like a really easy way to connect with them and to ask how they did it, or if there's any professors who are advertising about these abroad opportunity. I think those are, I think UFR has a lot of resources that you can jump on and that you can get involved in these opportunity very easily.
Yeah. Just echoing what Heather said, I think my biggest advice is just to do it
Yeah.
for anyone who's like on the fence about it. Because, like, think about it. How many people do you know that come back from their international trip and be like, oh, I regret that?
Right.
Like, for me, it's like 0 people. So, you should definitely do it. And also to engage in the local culture,
Oh.
like, as soon as possible or as much as possible. Like, I wish I knew Shima earlier than the last week.
Honestly, I was on like these Reddit posts on our last week about all these like hiking trip, like yoga stuff that they do in the community. And I really wish I knew that so I can like actually do more of that while in Zambia. So yeah, I definitely recommend if you go. Like, I know there's like a Facebook page. They also use WhatsApp a lot, which neither of us used it. But like, if you have like, I think they have a different social media than like, obviously the US does. But if you go to a country, yeah, I definitely highly recommend like a Reddit, Facebook, like all these media to get involved with people. Because I know there are a lot of young crowd out there that you can interact with.
Yeah, and also to remind us, like, life is more than just the bubble of, like, the medical school that we live every day. It's so easy to, like, forget the bigger world out there, but when we travel, I get reminded that the world is so big, I'm so small, there's so much more than what I deal with every day.
Well, that is all amazing advice, and thank you guys for talking with me today. Are there any last-minute remarks or comments you'd like to add?
I just wanna say thank you for inviting us here. It's really nice to talk to you about our experiences, and I hope that, when people listen to these podcasts, they're gonna think about, like, going abroad and experience more.
Well, thank you guys again. Thank you for listening to me chat with Heather and Sally. Next episode, we'll be switching topics to friendships abroad, where I'll be talking to Caleb and Faith, who went to Italy. Thank you to all the students who shared their incredible opportunities abroad so far. Now, I'm going to hand over the mic to another ambassador, Earl, as he shares a handy travel tip from his abroad experience in South Korea. Until next time, keep sharing your global stories.
Hi everyone, it's Earl, one of your ambassadors, and my tip for today's podcast is to try and document everything and have like a moment of reflection while you're there currently studying abroad. Because when you're journaling or scrapbooking, it's very different from doing it there versus doing it back at home. Yeah, enjoy the vibes and reflect when you're there.
Hi, listeners. We'd like to remind you that the opinions expressed by our guests on this podcast do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Center for Education Abroad or the University of Rochester. Our podcast aims to foster dialogue, critical thinking, and exploration of various topics related to education abroad. We encourage listeners to consider multiple viewpoints, engage in respectful discourse, and form their own opinions. Thank you for tuning in and being part of our community.